What if one of the biggest Latin pop icons in history was hiding a story far more intense than fame, fortune, and world tours? From child stardom to global superstardom, from private struggles to public reinvention, Ricky Martin's life is a story of pressure, passion, identity, and survival. And once you hear what really happened behind the spotlight, you may never look at his career the same way again. Ricky Martin is more than a singer. He is one of the defining faces of Latin pop in modern music history. For millions of fans around the world, he represents charisma, rhythm, stage power, and international success. But behind the polished performances and worldwide fame lies a deeply human story marked by sacrifice, reinvention, emotional conflict, and resilience. Born Enrique Martín Morales in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Ricky Martin entered the entertainment industry at a very young age. Like many child performers, he stepped into a world that looked glamorous from the outside, but demanded discipline, control, and maturity far beyond his age. His early breakthrough came when he joined the boy band Menudo, one of the most famous Latin pop groups of its era. For many artists, this would have been the dream, but for Ricky, it was just the beginning of a much more complicated journey. Menudo gave him visibility, training, and public recognition. It also exposed him to the harsh realities of the industry. Constant travel, public pressure, image expectations, and the loss of a normal adolescence shaped him early. While fans saw a smiling young star on stage, Ricky was learning how fame can both elevate and isolate a person at the same time. After leaving Menudo, Ricky Martin faced one of the hardest transitions any former child star can experience, proving that he could survive as a solo artist. This stage of his career was critical. Many young stars disappear after early success, but Ricky refused to become a nostalgic memory. He worked to rebuild himself as a serious performer with a broader artistic identity. His early solo work in Latin markets helped him establish credibility, but the real explosion came later. When Ricky Martin stepped onto the global stage in the late 1990s, everything changed. His performance of The Cup of Life and the release of Living La Vida Loca were cultural turning points. He didn't just release songs, he ignited a movement. He helped open mainstream global doors for Latin music in a way that few artists had done before. Suddenly, Ricky Martin was everywhere. Music channels, award shows, radio stations, international interviews, magazine covers. His image became almost impossible to escape. He was not just a singer anymore, he was a phenomenon. His energy, looks, confidence, and crossover appeal transformed him into one of the biggest global stars of the era. But here is the part many people overlook. Massive fame often creates massive pressure. When the whole world wants a version of you, maintaining your private self becomes harder and harder. For Ricky Martin, this tension was especially intense. He was living at the intersection of celebrity expectations, cultural identity, masculinity, and personal truth. For years, the public speculated about his private life. The media obsession around his identity became part of his public narrative, whether he wanted it or not. That kind of scrutiny can be psychologically exhausting. Imagine trying to build an artistic legacy while the whole world keeps demanding access to your most personal truths. It creates a conflict between self-protection and authenticity. In 2010, Ricky Martin publicly came out as gay, and that moment became one of the most significant milestones of his career and life. It was not just a celebrity announcement, it was a declaration of freedom after years of silence, pressure, and internal struggle. For many fans, especially in Latin communities where discussions around sexuality can be deeply shaped by tradition and conservatism, his decision had cultural weight far beyond entertainment. This moment changed how many people saw Ricky Martin, not because his talent changed, but because his honesty added a new dimension to his story. He was no longer just the polished superstar. He became, for many, a symbol of courage. Coming out at the height of global recognition is never simple, especially when your image has been commercialized for years. Yet that decision allowed him to reclaim authorship over his own life. Another powerful chapter in Ricky Martin's story is fatherhood. Becoming a parent seemed to transform not only his priorities, but also the way he spoke about purpose, love, and legacy. Fame can make a person feel larger than life, but parenthood often does the opposite. It brings people back to what is intimate, grounding, and real. In Ricky's case, fatherhood added emotional depth to his public identity and gave fans a different lens through which to understand him. His career also demonstrates something rare in entertainment: longevity through reinvention. Many artists achieve one explosive era and then fade. Ricky Martin adapted. He continued recording, performing, collaborating, and evolving with the industry without losing the signature style that made him recognizable. That balance between change and identity is one of the hardest things to maintain in show business. And yet, like many public figures, Ricky Martin's name has also appeared in moments of controversy, rumor, and intense media attention. This is the reality of celebrity culture. The bigger the star, the more aggressively the public and press consume every development. In those moments, what matters most is perspective. Fame magnifies everything: success, mistakes, accusations, and vulnerability. It turns personal storms into public spectacle. What makes Ricky Martin's story compelling is not just his fame, it is the contrast between the image and the man. On stage, he represents confidence, control, glamour, and power. But behind the image is a person who had to navigate child fame, artistic pressure, identity struggles, emotional exposure, and the challenge of staying relevant in a constantly changing industry. That is why Ricky Martin's life continues to fascinate audiences. His story contains everything that makes celebrity biographies powerful: early ambition, global success, private pain, cultural impact, and personal reinvention. He is not simply a singer with hit songs. He is a case study in what it costs to become a global icon and what it takes to survive it. In the end, Ricky Martin's legacy goes beyond music charts and unforgettable performances. He helped shape the global perception of Latin pop, inspired countless artists, and gave many people the courage to live more honestly. His life reminds us that behind every polished superstar is a story the cameras don't fully capture. And maybe that's the real reason people remain fascinated by Ricky Martin, not just because he became famous, but because he kept transforming while the whole world was watching.